Whispers Beyond the Veil. A tale of love, mystery, and the supernatural. It began on a night when the moon was swallowed by thick clouds, and the sea stood still, as though it were holding eye. The bridge creaked beneath her hesitant steps, mist curling around her ankles like spectral fingers. Beyond the bridge, the grand but crumbling manor loomed, its windows glinting like hungry eyes. She had heard the stories, how Lord Alistair Blackthorne had vanished a century ago on the eve of his wedding, how his betrothed, a woman of unparalleled beauty and sorrow, had been found dead in the rose garden, her hands clutching a single letter stained with tears. The locals whispered that the house itself wept for her, that on nights like this, her sorrow took form in the rustling leaves and the wailing wind. But Evelyn was no fool. Stories were just that, stories. And yet, as she crossed the threshold, the air thickened, the chandelier above trembled slightly, and a voice she couldn't place whispered her name. She followed the voice, deeper into the house, past portraits whose eyes seemed to follow her every move, past grand staircases dust-laden and forgotten. Then she saw it, a mirror, its frame ornate and gilded, but its surface like liquid shadow. It was not her reflection that greeted her, but another woman's, her face eerily familiar yet foreign. The woman's lips parted, forming words that did not reach Evelyn's ears, but she understood them all the same. "You must remember." Suddenly, the manor shifted. Candles flared to life, illuminating figures draped in formal attire, their laughter weaving through the air like an echo of a lost past. Evelyn was no longer standing in the present. She was there, amidst them, dressed in sapphire silk, a mask upon her face. And then she saw him, a man whose gaze held the weight of the ocean, whose presence sent something wild and raw coursing through her veins. Lord Alistair Blackthorne. Memories crashed into her like waves. The stolen glances, the letters slipped beneath doors, the whispered promises under moonlit skies. She had loved him, and he had loved her. But there had been betrayal, a night where blood had stained the roses, where a choice had been made that had sealed their fates. She was not merely Evelyn. She was her, Seraphina, the woman who had died waiting for him. The room darkened once more, the ghosts retreating into silence. The mirror pulsed, and she saw him standing there, his eyes filled with anguish. "You came back to me," he whispered. Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I didn't remember until now." He reached out, his fingers brushing hers, but the mirror remained unyielding. "I have waited for you," he murmured, his voice a plea, a prayer. "Find the letter. Undo what was done." And just like that, the vision faded, leaving her alone in the decayed grandeur of a house that had kept its secrets for far too long. With trembling hands, she searched, tearing through dust-covered furniture, pulling open drawers filled with forgotten pasts. And then, beneath the wooden floorboards in the very heart of the rose garden, she found it. A letter, sealed with the same crest as the invitation. She opened it, her breath hitching as she read the words written in a hand she knew too well. "My love, if you are reading this, it means fate has given us another chance. A lie was told, a love stolen, a destiny undone. I was meant to meet you beneath the old willow, but I was betrayed, taken before I could. The veil between worlds is thin, but only through the truth can we find our way back to each other. If you love me still, say my name where the roses weep, and let time mend what was broken." The air shifted, and for the first time, she understood. Someone had torn them apart, woven a tale that led to death instead of devotion. But now she had a choice. With the letter in hand, she stepped into the garden, the moon now free from its prison of clouds. The roses trembled as she knelt, whispering his name with all the love and sorrow that had been buried within her soul for over a century. A wind howled, the earth quaked, and from the shadows, he emerged. No longer a ghost, no longer trapped between time and regret. Alistair stood before her, real and alive, the weight of 100 years lifting from his shoulders. "You found me," he breathed. She reached for him, and this time, their hands met, warm, solid, unbreakable. And as the first light of dawn kissed the horizon, the past let go, and the future began.
Whispering echoes.